And this is something we have not shipped, but it's something that we're heavily working on right now. Spinning up this vCluster 4.
Spoilers.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a spoiler. Let's take 2 nodes here. And with these 2 nodes, what I'm actually doing is I'm not joining them into this cluster here, right? This is one big cluster, which runs all of my vCluster control planes. And they can run, maybe I'll draw a line in here, make that red. So this mode here would be called shared nodes. I'm literally able to share nodes, but I probably need to heavily restrict my tenants and what they can schedule on here, and definitely need to secure things on these nodes if they're running in shared node mode.
It's like a more secure general multi-tenancy where you don't care if they have their own nodes, they just want to have access and do Kubernetes things with GPUs.
Exactly, yeah. It's more of a serverless Kubernetes offering that you probably want to launch for your tenants here. And then you have dedicated nodes. And in this one, we are essentially using a node selector to dedicate specific nodes by the node selector to our tenants. But what we can do with this here would essentially mean I'm joining nodes into this control plane. This is a Kubernetes control plane, and probably if people are familiar with kubeadm, right? You could literally say, I'm going to take this node here, and I'm going to join this node into this control plane. And I'm going to take this node here, and I'm going to join it into this control plane. So now I have a control plane that runs in cluster A, but I have cluster B over here, which is actually my tenant cluster. And the beauty of this is it's completely separate. So this has its own network, right? It runs its own CNI. So this is entirely separate network from a Kubernetes perspective. Versus here, we would actually, if we have 2 tenants that look like this, they would technically run in the same CNI in the same network, and you'd have to work with network policies to isolate things. So this mode is currently not available in vCluster, but it will be available in just a couple of weeks from now. And that's very interesting because you can have an entire spectrum of multi-tenancy. You can go from complete serverless offering, something like ECS, to something that gives your tenants more autonomy and dedicated nodes, but without the complexity and overhead of managing an entirely separate cluster, to running dedicated clusters for tenants with